You're watching Oilers Nation Everyday with Tyler Yaremchuk. Your one-stop shop for all things Oilers.
Have you ever wondered why this show is available for free every day? Let's get into it with the lead.
I just assume since I didn't get paid, the show is free for everyone.
Yeah, we just aren't getting paid for doing this is the answer. Welcome into the show live from the Tap the Sign Sports Closet Studio, one of the many local sponsors that we're excited to have on Oilers Nation every day. Check them out online. 3 locations in the Edmonton area as well.
Also, shout out fellow local businesses, Star Mechanical,
Will Hawk Beef Jerky,
Short Ford.
Alberta Blue Cross is located in Edmonton. Short Power Sports and Marine. Short Ford, the Giant. Boy, do we ever rattle off a ton of local sponsors?
Greta Bar YEG.
Not even a sponsor.
Greta,
good one.
Yeah.
I was at Greta last Saturday. I talked about it on Monday. Remember, I was playing the clown game, and I
do remember that. You were cheating.
was not cheating. Well,
You was.
You can't cheat.
individual.
No,
game.
if you had multiple people throwing balls, you are by definition cheating.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was a 2-person game.
No.
Really? Anyway, shout out to our friends at Greta. Me and the boys are going golfing on Saturday. And I think the plan is afterwards to scamper our way to Greta, play some games, have a couple brewskis, get some. You're exhausted after a tough round of golf. Pizza taquitos.
Oh, they are.
Oh, street nuggets.
Street nuggets.
I am
Good living.
excited for our Greta parties.
Yeah, that's a good. It's always
It
a
will
good
be
time.
good. I'm
ready to get back in there and
Mhm.
relive.
I haven't seen Lance Kane all summer.
He hasn't been in the chat all that much. Maybe he's working at a job.
I was at that punk rock festival with him.
Oh yeah, that's right.
yeah,
You
good.
got
We had a lot of fun.
I swear I saw him somewhere. Oh, he DM'd me. Do you know what? Actually, he DM'd me and said you're right about Evander Kane. I said that's why you're my favorite, Lance.
I'm going golf. I'm going golfing this weekend.
With Lance.
No, not with Lance. Rounds. I'm going with my buddy Connor. Always a riot. Always a riot.
So
His parents watch the show.
did I?
Shout out Tim and Kathy.
Shout out to Tim and
Tim
Kathy.
watches. I think Kathy
So
watches.
funny comment, Connor. I've known Connor for a while because of the fantasy baseball.
Yeah, you've morphed your way into the friend group
Yeah.
a bit, and whatever.
So Tyler and I, as you all know, loyal listeners, played soccer together this year, and Connor was our goalie. Never played before. The greatest goalie I've ever played with in my life.
Which is quite the compliment because you're British.
It was incredible. And with that said, one of the goalies I played with played professional.
And Connor's better than him.
Connor was better than him. I swear to God. He's
I'll clip this and send
Yeah,
it to him.
send it to him.
Yeah, fired over to Connor.
Name was Billy O'Brien. If you want to look up the goalie, he played
Okay.
in Scotland and played for Manchester City's academy.
Wow.
In the Welsh under-19 squad.
And Connor was better than
Nickel
him.
was better than him.
Shout out
And
Connor Nickel.
So we're having a wrap-up party for our season tonight.
Which you're not
and,
coming to, but
I
we'll
can't come to.
explain.
Today, just out of nowhere, Connor just comments, make sure you wear your soccer gear tonight. And then Tyler said, I'm going to paint my face like a soccer ball. It had me going. I thought it was so funny.
It was like 8 a.m. too.
Yeah, it was so early.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that got me.
How do
Yeah.
you guys wrap up party?
Yeah, Skirk's making jungle juice.
Yeah, that sounds
So-
vicious.
Tonight's probably going to get a little out of hand. But anyways, you're not coming tonight because you're a homeowner.
Yes.
Big moving day.
Big moving day. Moments before the show, I got the call. I said to Aaron, my phone was on charge in here, and I said, hey, if my phone rings, can you let me know? I had 2 missed calls and 5 text messages.
It didn't ring.
It did not
I
ring.
didn't hear a ring.
I was
Crazy.
thinking too.
But yeah, I bought a house. Today is the official moving day. So it's exciting. We actually were discussing an idea before the show, which I guess we'll tell everyone. It's not much of a secret, is it? With him, we're going to do live watch-alongs from each other's houses this year.
Which would be fun. I mean,
Yeah.
Aaron has to do pre and post game.
Or we can
Whatever.
just be on it.
Yeah, we could just do pre and post
Do
game
it from
from
the
someone's
couch.
house.
Yeah, we did do it from the couch.
It would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I think it'd be a different vibe.
Yeah.
I think
Couple
that'd be fun.
beers.
Yeah. Why not? Why not?
Be cool to hang out not in this room.
Yeah,
that would be a change of pace. I never
Mhm.
thought of that.
Mhm. All right, we had a question in the Greta Bar YEG YouTube chat from our friend Bring Cassian Home. Incredible commitment to this bit as well, because that was like 2 years ago and you haven't changed your YouTube name.
And they finally did it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Cassian is back.
he's a pro scout.
Yeah.
We talked about that. He said, haven't gotten to watch a preseason game yet. Any big takeaways? We are going to get into that with someone who could become a new friend of the show, Preston Hodgkinson from the Daily Hive.
And has also watched preseason.
And we're bringing him on because we've never talked to him, and he's credentialed media of the Oilers.
Yeah.
And he's been at the preseason games. He covers the team. He's a great follow on Twitter. And he's going to come by in studio to give us a preseason breakdown. So what you lack from us in preseason analysis, you will get from Preston.
And I have a question for him.
Okay.
Thank goodness. And
you didn't write it in the prep sheet, but that's okay.
Did you read Greg's article yesterday?
No, I don't know how.
Did you see? So there's
Let's just skip past that.
The one thing I love about Oilers Nation is the fact that you can just put your opinions on the website, and it doesn't matter if you agree with someone or disagree with them in the same thing.
We have had 2 articles in the last week. One of them titled "The Oilers will be hard pressed to replace Evander Kane," and one titled "The Oilers will not miss Evander Kane."
And that's what I was going to say. At the top of it, it's Sunil, I believe his name is, just
Great.
writes, "I disagree with Jason Gregor," and he linked his article, and I just thought that was so funny.
Yeah, I also really like the people online. And listen, online for our show has been interesting for the last 16 hours. But there's a group of people who, when there is a take piece, if you want to call it that, we're always writing takes on the site. There's a take piece up, and they act like the entire company speaks on behalf of that take piece, or like it's in any way, shape, or form our job to think about the players' feelings. Basically the comment I'm getting at is there's someone who was like, you really think Evander Kane wants to read this when he just got through a major surgery?
I don't think he's reading it.
I don't think he's reading it. I don't think he cares. Also, they followed up with that with Zach Lang's the worst person ever, blah, 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 blah. He's not. Zach Lang's a great dude and we love him. But
he's a terrible fantasy football commissioner.
Yeah.
Terrible fantasy football commissioner. Awful. But I just like the irony of how could Oilers Nation write this piece about Evander Kane? Don't they care about his feelings? Anyways, I think the guy who wrote it should die. And it's well, that's interesting.
Yeah, that change your pace.
But that's what we do. That's part of the gig. You got to have thick skin.
Can I skip the show prep?
Sure.
So, and this was an interesting take, and I hadn't thought about ever considering this, and I'm not sure I'm fully on board with it, but Gregor put in there, and I'm forgetting fully the context around it, but Sam O'Reilly might have a shot of making this team.
No!
Now
Liam, get out of here!
All right. But he put
Sam Riley, 32nd overall pick, 2024 draft.
He put in there that, yes, it's obviously still a long shot, but I can't remember what year it was. Ryan O'Reilly made, stop looking at me like that. Ryan O'Reilly made Colorado in his rookie year. I have had enough of this already. I'm going to look at the chat.
Okay.
Ryan O'Reilly made
Colorado
in his rookie year, and he was a 2nd round pick. He was a 33rd overall pick. And he did well. I think Gregor said he averaged around 15, 16 minutes a night. Colorado finished 8th in the conference that year. And I think that was when Colorado kind of started to take a turn in positive direction at that time. They went back down to get McKinnon again.
Yep.
But in that moment,
they were starting to be like a young up.
Yeah,
team,
Barry was on the team. What was that?
Duchesne.
Matt Duchesne, yeah. So I don't think that Sam O'Reilly will make the team. But my question to you is, would you keep him around for, is it 7 or 9 games? I think it's 7 games, right?
9.
What if you just kept him? See, give him the experience of being around this program.
Yeah.
When he goes back to London, he's going right into the top 6, the top line. He's not going to miss a beat. He quite frankly doesn't.
Probably doesn't even really, again, less time in the OHL for some of these guys is
probably better.
Is fine. I won't say better, but fine.
Yeah. So
the Oilers did do that. Now, again, worth, I think, mentioning.
Nurse, right?
No, with Tyler Yamamoto. So he was the 22nd overall pick in the 2017 draft, and they did keep him up for the first 9 games of that season after his draft year as a late first rounder. He had 3 assists in 9 games, and I would maybe argue that in hindsight, that was not the best for his development because the next year he played 17 games, bounced up and down. Year after that, remember, he didn't come up until Christmas. That was the year he came up to that Rangers game. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's a great idea. I think in the moment, it's like, hey, you're excited. It's a little bit of the shiny new toy thing. But the bottom line here to me is the Oilers are not as depleted as they once were, specifically in the forward department. And are you in a spot where having a guy like Sam O'Reilly, do you need him on your third line? Like, no, I think you have enough there.
I think you would be on the fourth line. But I think
so. Why are we keeping a first round pickup to be on the fourth line then?
Just to be around. I think it is important to have those guys be involved in your culture and get established in that. You play alongside Corey Perry, who is a former London Knight too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That is a beneficial thing. And I wonder as well, and was it Buffalo that did this last year, where they kept Zach Benson up for a while? I think he ended up sticking.
Yeah, he played.
But they were like in and out. They were like wasn't playing every night. They were really stretching out that 9 games. I wonder if the others would play around with that a little bit too, just to have him here if they like him so much. And I do think there's a conversation for that 4C with obviously Derek Ryan, Noah Philp, who we'll talk about today. But another thing I thought was interesting was Jaden Gruby is gone now.
Yep. Who
was in that, kind of conversation too. He's
2 guys have survived a decent amount of cuts so far, and it's Philp and O'Reilly. And
Kemp.
Yeah, I was talking more like the forward
forwards.
group conversation because you brought up Gruby.
Yeah. So I don't know. I would lean more on the side of no, I don't think it will happen. But I don't know. I would not be shocked if he was on the opening night roster. They gave him that game and then maybe he went down. I don't know. Could be interesting.
I mean, he's probably got to play really, really well in these last few preseason games.
Oh, and he's going to get a chance. He will be in a lineup that is an NHL lineup.
Yeah.
During these next 4 games.
This is a good question to ask Preston when he gets
here.
Mm-hmm.
Go check that article out on Oilers Nation. It was actually quite interesting. And that was part of Gregor's sit down with Colin Chalk,
who is the Bakersfield Condors head coach.
Yeah. So he spoke about Max Warner, Lane Peterson, why he could be an NHL player, Philp too, and then talked about his first thoughts on Matt Savoy. Well, that's going to be
interesting. All right, let's continue along. You would think I would know by now that people on the internet aren't great at taking jokes. But yesterday I saw a tweet from Felix Sicard, who's been on the show before as a Ducks guy. And he said he thinks if the Ducks are going to move on from Cam Fowler, they'd be better to look for help on the third line versus help on the blue line. And I thought that was interesting because I know his numbers aren't good, but if the Ducks were willing to keep money, I think they would be able to get a little something for Cam Fowler.
Totally.
And again, he is not what he used to be. He is past his prime. You're not bringing in Cam Fowler to be a top pairing defenseman anymore, but he's a lefty who can play the right side and has played the right side before. Anyways, the point is I saw that like the Ducks help on the third line. And I, as a joke, just kind of went like, Janmark for Fowler, who says no? Like, there's cap reasons why that can't work. The Ducks, I don't think the Ducks would do that trade unless they're just hell-bent on dumping the money, but the Oilers can take the money. So, like, come on. Boy, I think, and this is kind of my take here, and it ties into a tweet from Bruce and then our short for giant question, but I think people might be misremembering the kind of player Matthias Janmark is.
I agree. And I think it's so interesting, isn't it? Because I put out there, and I know we'll get into this too. I keep jumping ahead.
Mm-hmm.
But the Calvin Pickett thing too.
Yeah.
Like people were kind of disregarding what he did last season.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, we just jumped the gun because he played 2 good games in the playoffs. It's like, no, the guy had a really good year. Matthias Janmark was lucky Connor Brown didn't have a goal for so long last season.
Because we would have been talking about him a lot more.
He had finished with 4 goals, right?
Yeah.
And you know what? To Janmark's credit, from, was it the Leafs fight or the Calgary fight? I can't remember which one it was.
Like Coleman.
That was, yeah. So from that point, it felt like he had reignited himself and kind of found a bit more of a different role. And credit to him for trying to fight through that as well, literally. But yeah, Janmark, that's why can we just get into the show for giant question?
Sure.
Because that's just what I greatly want to talk about.
Okay, well, then let's talk about it. It's our Sherwood Ford Giant question. It's brought to you by, guess who? Our friends at Sherwood Ford,
Local
Giant.
company.
Good local company, and they should be your next spot for when you're looking to maybe getting a new ride or even upgrade your current ride. Plenty of reasons why you should use Sherwood Ford, the Giant. Tired of dealership hassles? Sherwood Ford in Sherwood Park is all about convenience and upfront pricing with their Giant Deal program. I love that. Get clear, no-nonsense pricing on new and used Fords online with all incentives included. Our Sherwood Ford Giant question today, and it was inspired a bit by our boy Bruce Kurlock, who is the smartest person who appears on this show. And he kind of said, do you have the tweet here? He said there should be far more emphasis in Oilersville on the supposed third line of the Oilers rather than the 2RD for the first half of the season. My 2 cents anyways. And it kind of got me thinking, again, Matthias Janmark and Connor Brown had a good back half of the playoffs. Back half of the playoffs. Because Connor Brown was healthy scratch the entire first round. Matthias Janmark didn't score a goal. Then he scored one against Vancouver. Connor Brown eventually got into the lineup against Vancouver. But anyways, I think that's actually a pretty interesting question because people, again, yes, he scored in game 7. He had a couple goals in the cup final. Like, that is good. He also scored 4 goals in 71 games in the regular season, and he didn't score for the final 27 games of the regular season. Does he penalty kill? Yes. Is he a dog on the forecheck? Yes. Do I like Matthias Janmark? Yes. Patrick in our chat says Janmark is the definition of a glue player. Sure. And when we were at Stanley Cup Media Day, because we're credentialized media at NHL events, a bunch of his teammates said he was one of the guys who in that game against Washington that they all credit with turning around their season, Janmark was one of the guys who stood up and said, hey, I went through this in Vegas and we went to the cup final, and he kind of like rallied everyone together. I like Matthias Janmark. But one of the replies yesterday when I tweeted again, as an off-the-cuff kind of joke, Janmark for Fowler thing was someone tweeted me and said, you don't trade great bottom 6 or good bottom 6 players on great contracts. Whoa. Matthias Janmark is an all right bottom 6 player. He penalty kills well. He forechecks well, but he does not score. He doesn't drive play in any way. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes, but he's not elite defensively in any way. And the idea that he is on a great contract, a great bottom 6 contract, is under $1 million with no term. Matthias Janmark is making $1.45 million for the next 3 seasons. You can't bury the whole contract.
Yeah.
Like, I just feel like, again, yes, you want guys who can step up in the playoffs, 100%. I loved the Brown Mark run from last year. That was awesome. Them developing with Adam Henrique and being a good third line for the playoffs, excellent. But I think we as a collective fan base need to be really, really careful about how we overvalue playoff games. And yes, they're the most important games. And yes, performing in the Stanley Cup final, it's a lot of pressure and all of this. But this is the point I made with Philip Broberg. He played 10 good games in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and 7 of them were in the final, and that's awesome. Playing that does not mean you can do that job and what you just did for 60 straight games in the regular season. It's just different. And again, Janmark, he's fine. He's an NHLer, and I will 100% give him that. I'm not trying to say like he doesn't belong on an NHL roster. But at the same time, in his career with the Oilers, he has played 137 regular season games and scored 14 goals. Over the span of 2 seasons, he has 14 goals. Like, don't make Matthias Janmark out to be something he is not. He can maybe get you double-digit goals. Maybe. And he can penalty kill and forecheck. But he is not some great bottom 6 guy. And the Oilers currently have him on their third line.
Yeah. I mentioned on Wednesday briefly, too, after we talked about the defenseman, the kind of worry of this bottom 6. It's just basically lost your entire third line in Holloway, McLeod, and Foegele. That you know, and I know we all assumed Foegele wasn't coming back, but obviously Holloway and McLeod were surprises. Holloway more, of course, but that third line, I mean, I think ultimately it will be fine because you're looking at Henrique and Brown, who are third line players in the NHL. Brown, he's not going to go 54 games again this season without a goal. He already got
on
one
pace for 82, brother.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think the playoffs actually helped him a lot. Janmark is just so hot and cold, isn't he? And that's fine. Like, I really don't mind Janmark at all. I think his penalty killing will be crucial this year. But there's just a lot of question marks and a lot of hope that things are going to be good for like a Podkolzin. Like, we don't really know.
We don't.
Corey Perry did score 8 goals last season for the Oilers. Again, didn't do lick in the playoffs. His best moment,
scratched.
Yeah, he's healthy scratched. And it's just like, you know, we have a 39-year-old on the 4th line. And Derek Ryan, again, he's similar to Janmark. He's going to give you an honest game every time he's out there.
Yeah, and again, I don't have a problem with him. Like, he's fine.
Yeah, and I'm saying But you really need Podkolzin to hit the ground running and flip with Yaremchuk.
You need
Big
someone
time.
to, yes.
And you need some things to happen here. And I don't love the Yaremchuk contract, and I don't love the Perry contract.
I dislike both of them.
Yeah, I dislike Perry more.
I dislike Perry. Yaremchuk, just the term scares me because I think it's recency bias is what we're talking about. We're just so in love. We're still drunk off the playoffs, which 100%. He was fantastic. He was great.
Amazing
we just
player.
have never seen Matthias Yaremchuk do that for 82 games in an Oilers jersey before. And I don't really expect it that.
Yep.
Like you said, too, like playing 82 games is so different than playing in the postseason.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can get fired up in those series. Like, look at Nikita Zadorov. My God, anyone would have thought that was prime Chris Pronger some nights, the way he was playing.
And he got paid off that, too.
Big time. He was scoring from literally everywhere.
He's a number 4 defenseman, and he got paid like a number 2-3.
He's a good player.
He's fine.
But also, wasn't it like a few years ago when he went to Calgary? It was just like, this guy sucks.
Yep.
And now we're calling him Big Z.
Yeah.
Big Z.
I called him Little Z or Mid Z.
This Yaremchuk thing reminds me a little bit, and it's not apples to apples, but Waz made the comment in the chat, and I actually think it's pretty smart. Remember that first year, Zach Kassian scores the 3 goals in the playoffs in 13 games, has those big hits. It was awesome, right?
It was amazing.
And whenever he struggled in the regular season, what did we hear? Well, he's a good playoff performer. You need guys like that in the playoffs. And what did he do in his next 24 playoff games with the Oilers? Scored 3 goals.
Yeah. Scored the last goal of the 2022
when they got
playoffs.
swept.
Yep.
And that was his
finally got bumped to the top line, though.
Well, and that's the other thing too, is like
we needed that guy.
You would hear it all the time. They need to put Kassian up on the top 6 because you need guys like that in the playoffs. And it's like, I just think sometimes we overweight how guys play in the playoffs when I think sometimes it's just a little bit too random to sit there and zero in on a 10-game stretch in the playoffs and be like, I'm ready to pay that guy because of it. I think it's a mistake. And I know a bunch of you in the chat aren't agreeing with me, and that's fine. That's the whole point of this show, is to have a good debate, and a lot of you guys really like them.
I do think one thing should be thrown out there, and correct me if I'm wrong. Yaremchuk obviously got hurt the playoffs previously.
Broke his foot or whatever.
He broke his foot, and then he came back against Vegas and got hurt again. But when he was playing, very small sample size, he was pretty good. So luckily for us, he has been able to back that up in the playoffs, back-to-back years. So he needs to hit 10 goals this year. But his penalty killing is the most valuable part about him.
Dave Lund, how much are they paying Yaremchuk again? I think we're getting our money's worth. $1.45 million for 3 years. Again, the Oilers are in a spot where you need to pinch pennies a little bit. And someone else said, why do you need to keep why do you hate the Perry contract? Or why can you hate the Perry contract?
Too much. And also the fact that they could have signed Holloway and didn't want to negotiate with him, but we got Corey Perry back.
And again, like, I'm angry about that one because it's like Corey Perry's made over $100 million in his career, is getting bonus money next season still from the Oilers. And that's the kind of guy who should be signing for $800,000 in my opinion. Like, you want to try win a cup here. And again, they paid Corey Perry more than $1 million. They healthied him for a chunk of the playoffs. Like, you saw what you needed to see with Perry. And I think with Yaremchuk, it's, more justifiable because he was an important part of the playoff run. And again, you're drunk off the playoff success and all that. So you want to keep him.
Huge factor.
The penalty kill was electric in the playoffs. That run they went on was crazy. It's a big reason why they survived Vancouver.
But the ironic part about it, the penalty kill, is the second unit penalty kill of Nurse, Cece, who's gone, Ryan McLeod, who's gone, and Warren Foegele, who's gone, did not allow a goal. All playoffs. And like, granted, Yaremchuk, Brown, and the other two were like 2 or 3, and incredible, both of them. But it is ironic that we're just like toss those other guys to the side like that.
Ham sandwich is in.
Hell yeah.
Also, the top guys always sing Yaremchuk's praises. Yes, we just talked about that. They
love him.
Yeah, like we spoke to a bunch of the players in Florida, and they all sang Yaremchuk's praises. So totally, I 100% understand that. You are setting yourself up for disappointment if you're making Yaremchuk out to be more than he is my only point here. And again,
well, you're not getting that from Perry, Andrew. 15 goals and 40 points. I think we'll be lucky to get 25.
I think we'll be lucky if we get 40 games.
Yep. I think they have to play him 40 games.
And there was one point, and I think it might have been Dangerous Wade earlier. Yeah. Yaremchuk on the third line is doing what he does best. Acceptable placeholder. Kane and Kane's LTIR are 2 players. Totally. And like, that is a good take. I think you can start the line with Janmark, Henrique, and Brown. And a bunch of people made the point of like, all they need to do is not get scored on. And I actually really disagree with that.
They have to provide some offense, and I do think they will.
Unless you're going to play them at home against the other team's top 6, which I'm not certain they will. Unless you're going to do that, they need to score a bit. Like, again, this team for years was plagued because all the Oilers could do was get goals from the top 6. And at times, all they could do is get goals from the top line or the top 2 players. I think we should be aiming a bit higher as a Stanley Cup contender than a third line that just doesn't get scored on. That can be your fourth line. If your fourth line just isn't getting scored on, I'm cool with that. And if they're penalty killers, that's better or probably needed, actually. Anyways, I look at that bottom 6 right now and I go like, hey, yeah, Henrique, Janmark, Brown, it's fine. Like, I'm not sitting here, I'm not going to say it's a problem, but your fourth line having Derek Ryan and Corey Perry on it might be a problem. That might be a spot you need to upgrade a little bit.
The Oilers are going to be lucky that their division, not lucky is the wrong word. They're going to be perfectly fine because of how skilled they are. But they'll be able to get away with a lot more throughout the season because of how weak their division in the West kind of is. Like, who do you think the second best team in the West is right now?
Dallas. It's still Dallas.
Is it? So Dallas's third line is Jamie Benn, Maverick Bork, who's a rookie and we don't truly know. Led the American League in scoring, and Logan Stankoven. Probably matches up a bit better.
Yeah. Well, someone said, like, find me a better third line in the NHL.
Well, there's one.
Well, there's one, yeah. I think you could find a bunch. I mean, Florida's got Anton Lundell on their third line. He's really good. I mean, at this point, I'm scrolling through random teams trying to find third lines because I wasn't prepped for that. But Vegas has Thomas Hertl, Nicholas Roy, and Alexander Holtz as their third line. That's good.
What was the left winger? Roy?
Toronto has Tavares, Bobby McMahon, and Nick Robertson on their third line. That's better.
I do think, too, like, we should put in there.
Philly has
your top 6 is obviously the focus for the Oilers this year, and they wanted to get Draisaitl wingers, and it could work out that, hey, maybe Victor Arvidsson falls down and Connor Brown ends up on Draisaitl's wing, and that really does kind of.
I am, as much as I just talked about Janmark and last year's results, I am a lot higher on Connor Brown this season.
I just think he has the.
Well, you can't
the
be
idea
low,
of it. Yeah, like he's hit that 20 goals a few times now. Twice. Yeah. Like I don't know.
How many goals does Connor Brown score this year?
I'm gonna guess 13.
I'll say 14.
I was gonna say 50. So
I'll say 16.
All right.
Mainlander Tim, decent point. Edmonton made the playoffs last year with the cardio line skating around for fun. They are fine.
Yeah.
Yes.
True.
Yes. But also Warren Foegele scored 20 goals last year at even strength.
He did.
Or close to all of them coming at even strength.
Warren Foegele, very.
He was so frustrating.
I was going to say underrated season, but he really wasn't. Like that guy should have hit 20 goals every year.
Yeah,
with like the work and the like to get the puck off the time, but like he would just go on stretches of like 10, 15 games where it's like, is Warren Foegele hit the net this weekend? Like, I like Foegele. I hope he does well in LA because he was a solid Oiler for what he was.
Okay. I want to talk quickly about my Alberta Blue Cross moment of the week.
Okay.
Fun segment we do, brought to you by Alberta Blue Cross, highlighting something that made us happy over the last 7 days. Alberta Blue Cross and the meaningful moment of the week. If you're planning a trip, make sure you remember to pack travel insurance from Alberta Blue Cross. When you've got Canada's most trusted travel insurance in your back pocket, you can focus on making the right kind of memories while you're away. Visit ab.bluecross.ca/travel for more information and another fantastic local sponsor that we are proud to partner with on the show. Here's my moment of the week.
Okay.
Seeing Noah Philp get some love.
Oh, yeah. That has been nice.
As the voice of your Alberta Golden Bears men's hockey team, and I have been the voice for a handful of seasons now. Sure. I mean, that's Aaron and I got to see Noah Philp play as a Golden Bear his first season there. And then obviously the second year he came back for the playoffs, didn't play the entire season, came back for the playoffs and was instantly their best player. His combination of size and smarts and his knack for the net and knowing when to, he was so good. Anyways, he's obviously been through a lot. He took last season off to prioritize his mental health. At the time, it was like, hey, his hockey career might actually just be over. The fact he's back, loving the game again, in a better spot, and now he's starting to get love from people who didn't know his game from the U of A.
Cool.
Man, it's cool. And listen, there is a case for him to be the fourth line center on this team. And to hear a guy like Gregor, who, I mean, I was pumping Noah Philp for a while, but now even Gregor was telling me yesterday when I went on his show, or 2 days ago when I went on his show, he was like, he's up by Christmas now. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And the Oilers have needed a young 6'3" right shot centerman for a long time. And Maynard Stauffer is the president of the Noah Philp fan club. If Stoff's running for president of that fan club, I'm right there with him.
You're vice.
I'm vice. I'm Stoff's VP. But it's awesome, man. He's a really, really, I struggle calling it a good story, but it's great to see him back and to see him getting the love he's getting.
The good part of the story is that he's making the comeback.
Yeah.
It's like a redemption story.
Yeah. And hopefully it works out. I mean,
I want it to work so bad.
As the Golden Bears, they're probably like, come on. Like, we have Derek Ryan in the NHL already. And now the only way Noah Philp gets in is if Derek Ryan falls out of favor. Like, we need 2 Golden Bears in there. So
and a head coach who is
the head coach, is a former Golden Bear.
Yeah.
But it is good to see U Sports kind of get that love as well. Of like, look, these guys played high end hockey. You don't just go to the U of A for nothing, right? It's an elite program in U Sports, and obviously the Oilers went out and got Connor Unger as well from Brock. So it's good to see Canadian universities get that love too. And Noah Philp, what is he now, 25? Like, kind of the same age Derek Ryan started breaking into the NHL.
Tyler, with the G Bears taking on the Huskies this weekend, will you be up in Cold Lake? I'm not allowed to go that far north, so no.
He's 26.
26. Who are the like Saskatchewan?
Yeah.
What do you mean you're not allowed to go that far north?
Oh, they're playing in Cold Lake.
Oh, I see. Why?
He's lying. Because he's lying.
Oh, because he's not telling the truth.
Who?
Me.
No. Why are they playing in Cold Lake?
I don't know.
Is that hockey?
Yes.
That's so weird.
What else would they be doing there?
Well, I wasn't sure if it was football. Because Edmonton Huskies is junior football.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So that's Saskatchewan.
I used to work on those Edmonton Huskies broadcasts as well too.
There's one. Let me see.
Conditions of your parole.
Do the U of A play Regina? Are they in the same conference?
Yeah. Regina is not good.
Okay.
Saskatchewan's the good one.
Saskatchewan's good. Although the conference has gotten noticeably tighter over my 6 years of work.
Yeah, I heard an interview with Ian Herbers is the head coach, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Former Oilers assistant.
He was talking about how like the Dinos have kind of come up and the Thunderbirds, and just the divisions got a lot better. But if you're watching Regina, look out for a guy called Noah Wills, former Crusader. Should have gone Div 1. I can't believe he didn't. Keep a lookout for.
All right. Okay, we have our guy Preston coming in a second, but we have one more segment we need to get to before we can get to Preston. It's a busy Friday. It's what's trending for our friends at Sherwood Power Sports and Marine.
Did not see that coming.
A couple of things, I guess, in the what's trending. We'll go away from hockey for a second, then we'll circle back to it. Final Oakland A's game. Final game at the Coliseum. John Fisher, their owner, is a, plug your ears, kids, a cheap piece of shit. And he's moving the team to Sacramento for 3 years because he's waiting for Vegas to accept him, even though there's no funding for him to build a stadium in Vegas and they haven't broken ground yet. So that's all weird. I think the actual play here from John Fisher, because he's an absolute slime ball, is he knows he's not getting funding, but he's trying to strong arm Oakland into giving him a new stadium. And I believe the story is he wants taxpayers to pay for a new stadium as well as a bunch of apartments around there that he's going to own and get to make money off of. He's garbage. But it was heartbreaking and yet heartwarming to see the final people. Yeah, they sold that thing out. Heartbreaking and heartwarming to see the last game in Oakland. Super sad. Also, they were, this broke my heart.
Yeah, this is sad.
He was there for the first pitch in 1968, here for the last pitch in 2024. That sucks.
Aged like a fine wine, though.
He really did. Good looking guy. Fans were unscrewing seats from the Coliseum. And then the soccer team that still has to play there next year was like, hey, guys, we need those seats. So please stop taking them. But like, great scenes. Also, there was an Oakland A's employee who just tweeted out his employee discount QR code that you can use at the store. And he was like, you go crazy, everybody.
What a legend. That's actually really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's too bad. Like, you see a lot of these things where, like, we saw it in Arizona, right? Where it's like they leave to go to Utah. It's like, yeah, like that's just bad ownership again. And you don't want to see these towns. And like, if you don't know, like, you would assume nobody supported the A's because no one would ever go to the game.
They just hated the owner.
Just hated the owner so much, and it just sucks. And John Passon is his name. Is that his name?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really went at Oakland on his Twitter if you wanted to go read that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what Kyle's talking about.
Kyle. Thanks for a number. I think they're talking about Cold Lake, Alberta.
Good old Cold Lake.
Yeah. If I could go, I would. Couple of injuries from the Pacific Division. John Gibson had an emergency appendectomy.
Yeah, crazy.
That can just happen.
I know.
I live in constant fear of needing an emergency appendectomy.
You think of professional athletes and all the injuries, all the things you could be susceptible to, and then this happens at like 10 p.m. on a Thursday night, and now you're out 3 to 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
I live in constant fear of needing an emergency appendectomy, and also, what's the one where you piss rock?
Kidney stones.
I live
that
in
looks like the worst.
I think I'd rather
just get cut open. And
I'd rather lose a finger.
Pinky bet.
Emergency appendectomy, that sucks. Drew Doughty has like a broken ankle, and they're worried it may be an ACL thing. Anyways, that could be
ACL
or Achilles, whatever.
Oh,
no, whatever's in your knee or down in that area.
Yeah, Achilles.
There's concern that this is very, very long term for Drew Doughty. If he's not there, this season may go off the rails pretty quick for our friends in LA. Not our friends, we hate them.
But another thing we spoke about too is he was probably got a pretty good chance of making that Four Nations.
And as a right shot defenseman, does this maybe open up the door for an Evan Bouchard to have a clear path? He might be on the team, should be on the team regardless.
But it probably helps.
This might help his case.
It's too bad. I mean, look, like obviously the rivalry between LA and Edmonton is what it is, but Doughty's a great player. He's had a solid career. I do hope he can come back and kind of end his career.
That's not the way you want to go.
Yeah.
No. All right, there you go. That is what's trending for our friends at Sherwood Power Sports and Marine. Should we get to the Star Mechanical Guest Line?
Let's get
Yeah, no, glad to be here. Make my show debut.
Yes.
Have you ever seen the show before?
Yes. Tidbits. I've seen clips. You guys post all the time.
Did you think the room would be this small?
This is smaller than I will say it's pretty cozy in here.
It is nice.
Yeah, it is. It is small. It is hot. We usually have the window open, but someone's dog is barking outside.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
A dog patch. You would have thought.
Who would have thought? Being located on top of a bar does have its perks, though. But anyways, welcome in. Excited to have you. I'm looking at your Twitter right now. Your profile picture is you in a Blue Jays jersey with a Riverhawks beer bat.
Oh, yeah. Well, summer experience here at Edmonton.
That's fair.
You got to go to it.
Yeah.
Born and raised in Edmonton?
No, Peace River. Been living here since like 2017.
Oh, nice. And this is your kind of like second season on the beat, correct?
Yeah. No, so I was on the beat for most of last year. I got credentialed in December. We went to the finals. So it was the first year to be on the job.
It is pretty crazy.
Do you know where Peace River is, or is that too north?
Too north for me. I also am not allowed in Peace River, which is unfortunate. I would go if I could. Anyways, being up in the press, like, did you grow up an Oilers fan?
Oh, yeah. No, I was a huge Oilers fan. I think if you look at my latest tweet there, it's a tweet from my Facebook when I was 10 years old. Getting really hyped for an Oilers preseason win.
In 2010.
So, we all had some hope back then, right? So.
Yeah, that sucks. Must be kind of cool, though, like being up in the press box around kind of all the other media guys and things like that.
Oh, yeah. No, it's a dream come true for me. I've known I wanted to do this for a while. And, getting up there and seeing guys like Speck and Matheson and Rashog, and these are guys that like you watch on TV your whole life, and now I'm kind of a colleague with them. So it's a little strange, but it's definitely awesome. Yeah.
Liam had this one written down, but he wanted me to ask it. So which one of them is the biggest asshole to you?
Why did you take that?
I'm just kidding. You don't have to.
I'll say that Avery guy is kind of a CD subject there.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Video yesterday had me roll, and it was
no, I kid. Avery's fantastic.
Yeah,
Avery is hilarious. So you've been obviously boots on the ground for most of the preseason. You've been watching preseason games, which is an area Liam and I have slacked off on. But who's someone who stood out to you in a positive way so far?
Well, I think, Noah Philp is someone who's been getting a lot of play recently. And, he's in that battle for that fourth line center role with, veteran Derek Ryan and then James Hamblin. And then he's looked good. Like taking a year off, you'd think there'd be some rust there. You think he'd be a tad bit slower behind the 8 ball, but he's actually looked fairly good there. So he's one player that I would say is standing out right now.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what he can do in that 4C kind of battle. Just with the year off, I think the play would be put him in Bako, let him play, let him play 22 minutes a night, let him penalty kill for 3-4 minutes a night and go that way. I do think the real race for 4C, Derek Ryan, James Hamblin, Lane Peterson. Do you think there's a battle there? Do you think it's just going to end up being Derek Ryan and this is just a fun preseason game we're playing?
Well, I was actually going to bring up James Hamblin because he's a guy that not a lot of people have been talking about, but I've really liked his game this preseason. I think he's looked good. He did well in that 31 games he played last year. He can kill penalties. It's just, will they cede that position from Derek Ryan? He's been there. He's the incumbent. But, he hasn't really impressed. He's getting old. And I think if anyone's going to take that spot immediately, it's James Hamblin. And then maybe halfway through the year, if Noah Philp keeps it up, maybe he gets a cup of coffee eventually, right? So, yeah.
There's a familiarity, too, of Hamlin. It was just like coming up last season.
He's been here, yeah.
Yeah, like it is an easy thing to just kind of slot him in. Do you make anything of Lavoie's chances to make this team? Like second year in a row now, it's like, what's he gonna do? Like American League's too good for him.
I'm a big Raphael Lavoie fan.
Yeah.
I think he looked great last preseason. Couldn't make it on waivers. Obviously, I'm surprised he actually still with the team. I'm surprised. I thought someone would take a flyer on him in waivers. He's come back again and he looks great again. Like he's got a hell of a shot, like an NHL shot. And the problem is, it's where you going to play him. Like we saw last year, he got a few games, but he was playing down the lineup 5 minutes a night. Player like that's not going to do much there, right? You need to give him some more minutes, but where is that going to happen for him here?
Well, on the other side with like kind of the excitement around him, and I made this point earlier in the week, but it's everyone watched him score that goal the other day. Hammers a shot on the power play, and it's like, that is great. He's not getting that opportunity here. He's not going to be in the OV spot at the top of a circle on a power play. He needs to show that he's going to be a good bottom six guy. And I know last year when he went down to Bakersfield, he asked to kill penalties more. And Colin Chalk did it for a few games and then was like, the rest of his game's suffering, and he pulled them off. And while I do think that's maybe a comment on the organization not being in the right, like, who cares if he needs to be a penalty killer to make it to the NHL? Who cares if the rest of his game is suffering? Colin Chalk, play him on the penalty kill if that's what the team wants. I digress on that, but he needs to show that he can be a good bottom six guy to make this team.
Yeah, and he's looked better in the corners. Like he's playing a more physical game, but penalty kill, that's the issue, right? Like the Oilers need penalty killers. We've seen a bunch of them leave over the summer, and that's something they're going to be looking for. And in that bottom six, we have a few guys there with like, Matisse Janmark, Connor Brown, whatever. Is Lavoie going to knock any of those guys out? Maybe, but it's looking like he won't get a chance unless there's an injury there, right? Then he'll get called up and maybe give him some more minutes. But
I just wonder, I think he will go down just because, like I said, there's not room for him. But if Corey Perry has a poor start to the year, like they're kind of the same player and not exactly, right? But like Perry doesn't kill penalties and like just on the second unit power play when they need him. It's like maybe Lavoie can take that role.
I will say, I think if Lavoie had some boots on him, if he was a faster player, he'd have a much better chance of beating out a guy like Corey Perry. The Corey Perry will always have the veteran edge and the experience, but if he had like some skating ability, he could easily stand out and snatch a spot, I think. But
he's not exactly bringing the speed, is he?
Yeah. We had someone on Twitter yesterday accusing us of just regurgitating things that Frank Saravalli says. So in the name of that, Frank's latest article had some ready to become breakout stars. That was the title of Frank's piece. And he had Ty Emberson listed in there. Frank said, if you dig into the numbers, Emberson's actually posted a strong rookie season with the Sharks in limited showing. Aside from the shots he's averaged per game, Emberson makes a good first pass, which should be priority number one for any blue liner with the forwards on Edmonton's roster. Emberson may not be a household name, played for Chris Knobloch in Hartford. This is a player Knobloch knows and trusts. I haven't exactly noticed Emberson a ton or heard people talking about him. That's also probably a good thing when you consider the role he's played, but you've been watching the skates along with the games. What stuck out to you about Ty Emberson?
Not much, if I'm being completely honest, but like you said, that can be a good thing, right? I'm not noticing him being terrible out there. I'm not noticing him being amazing out there. And right now, preseason, it's early, so I can't read too much into it. And also, he's not playing with Darnell Nurse right now. He's not playing with his regular partner right now. It's kind of just whoever, right? So we're not going to get a good idea of like what Ty Emberson will look like as an Oiler until Darnell Nurse is healthy and ready to skate again, which should be in the next few weeks here. I know Knobloch has said that he wants to get him 1 or 2 games, so we should get some more. But nothing much about Emberson, good or bad.
Which again might be fine. The Nurse point is good. I still think there's a chance he works better with Kulak in like a true shutdown pair role, and you give Nurse a better passer and Troy Stetcher.
Well, that's what you want, right? Like Ty Emberson is a third line guy with Brett Kulak. That makes your third pairing fantastic. I love that third pairing, but the problem is there's no one on the second pairing right now, right? So you kind of just by necessity you need them to play up, but that's something that they'll probably look to do after the trade deadline and into the playoffs.
I think the 6 for the Oilers is pretty locked in. I think it's fairly obvious who's going to be in, who's going to be out.
Josh Brown has not done enough to take a job.
I was going to bring up Josh Brown. Like, I haven't seen a whole ton of him, but that game in Calgary was not a great
against American League competition.
And it was the American League competition. So, a lot of people are saying that he's a lock. I guess he is being paid the most, 3 years at $1 million. Don't really understand that contract all that much, but whatever, you can bury it. It's just confusing. But no, I don't. I would honestly, like you said, go with Troy Stetcher there. Yeah. Why not?
And I would have Dermott be my 7. Because you can sign him for cheap
over him.
Well, yeah, and you can, keep Kemp up. Either one of them is cheaper and allows you to accrue more cap space. That is the goal with your 7th defenseman, I think, here. Because if there is a long-term injury or whatever, fine. You want to give Brown a look and call him up, then do it. But there's no point in having a higher salaried player sit as your 7D when you know he will clear waivers. And if he doesn't clear waivers, that's great.
It's money off the books. Right?
Yeah. We spoke about at the top of the show, and just like a guy like Yaremchuk that is going to probably start the year at the third line. What do you make of this Oilers bottom 6 right now? I know we talked about Philp and kind of Lavoie and stuff. Like, do you think that bottom 6, if it was to go in like this, of Yaremchuk, Henrik Brown, Podkolzin, Ryan, and Perry, is frankly good enough?
I think in an ideal world, Podkolzin shows more here in Edmonton and can take that third line left wing role away from Yaremchuk, because I like Yaremchuk. I think he's a good player. He's a good penalty killer. He looked really good with this trio in the playoffs, late in the playoffs. But he's not a third liner. Let's be real. He's a good 4th line guy. Yeah. But third line, I think you're asking a little too much of him. And I like this trio, but I don't know. I would like to see Podkolzin do something to take that away.
And he easily has the most potential out of all those guys. Like, if you can get Podkolzin and Connor Brown rolling, that's actually pretty good.
2 12, 13 plus goal guys.
Yeah. And then Henrik's going to do what Henrik does.
I will say the justification maybe for a Yaremchuk, Henrik Brown third line, if you want to call it that, would be if you put together in air quotes 4th line that has some offensive upside. If your 4th line is Podkolzin, let's just go Podkolzin, Philp, Lavoie. And it's like
so different.
Young, skates well, can score. You don't trust him in the D zone, but that's why you have a third line that has more limited offensive upside, but you can trust in the D zone, can trust with a tougher matchup. Then I kind of sit there and go, okay, I can see the vision a bit more, but I do worry a bit about upside in the bottom 6. Since we're working our way through the roster, something I had written down in our What's Trending segment, but we didn't talk about, was Daily Faceoff's rankings of goalie duos in the NHL. Did you check this out?
I have not seen it. No.
So, okay, that's great.
Yeah.
Take a stab. Where do you think Skinner and Pickard rank?
Skinner and Pickard. Well, I like Skinner. Pickard's...
Is Pickard?
Pickard, yeah. I don't know. I'd probably put him in the upper half. I think Skinner pulls him up. Maybe 12.
That's where I would have them.
Yeah, around 12.
Matt Larkin, who we hate, had them at 17th. I think that's like
disastrous.
I don't get it. Like, you look at these numbers, Skinner didn't have a great year consistency wise, but he had some stretches where he was a top 5 goalie in the NHL. Like, there was a solid 6 to 8 week stretch where his save percentage was right up there.
He won 12 games in a row.
The goalie duos above them that I have problems with, Aiden Hill and Ilya Samsonov. Ilya Samsonov couldn't stay in the NHL last year. Aiden Hill
can't stay healthy.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Then they go Demko and the Canucks guys at 15.
I have a problem with that one.
Yeah, I think I have a problem with that one too. Demko, I know Demko's injured a lot, but when he's healthy, he's a hell of a goaltender. He's a top 3 goaltender in my opinion. So that's actually pretty.
And their
surprising,
backups
too.
are. I mean, Seelov's was good in the playoffs.
And I think
suppose,
I think Lankinen's a good backup. I think they should be higher.
They had UPL, Devin Levi, and James Reimer, the trio in Buffalo. UPL is less proven than Stuart Skinner. And if you want to
100%.
sit there and say, well, in the back half of the year, he was lights out. In the middle, call it the middle 50% of the year, Stuart Skinner was lights out.
Yep.
So that one doesn't make sense to me. Vasilevsky and Johansson at 13. Ullmark and Forsberg at 12. Lindgren and Logan Thompson at 11. Charlie Lindgren has been a starting goalie for like 3 months. And it's because Darcy Kemper sucked.
And he's also, isn't he old?
He's older than Skinner.
Yeah.
And Logan Thompson also can't stay healthy.
Yeah, not for me.
That one's crazy.
Who's paying these guys?
I know.
What's the criteria here? Is why you're gonna be like all over the place.
We're coming after you, Larkin. Anyways, Freddie Anderson, Pyotr Kochetkov at 9 is crazy, but the most criminal one is at 8.
Oh, unbelievable.
Jordan Binnington and Joel Hofer is not a top 10 goalie duo in the NHL.
Are they a top half?
No.
They're probably 16.
You could swap them and Skinner, I think, and like not a lot of people would have beef with it.
Yeah, I could not agree more.
I think 12 makes sense. And we did have a comment earlier, which again sparked this, where he was like, are we maybe not more worried about the Oilers goalie duo? And there was a follow-up here from Robbie, who said, I hope you guys are right, but we're an injury away at goaltender and D-men from being in a scary situation.
Injury away
I feel like everyone's an injury away from a scary situation, right? Like Oilers lose McDavid. It's a scary situation.
Exactly.
Devils lost
every sport that's up there.
The Devils lost Jack Hughes last year, and it was scary.
Well, like look at Tampa Bay last year. They lost Vasilevsky for the start of the year. I know they had Matt Tompkins
and Jonas Johansson,
and they were fine. They got by until Vasilevsky came back. It's like, yeah, you lose one of your best players, you are going to be in trouble. Like,
breaking
no
news.
kidding. Like, shocker. We talked about it earlier. The LA Kings are probably going to be worse than we all thought they were because Drew Dow is going to be out.
I will say though, going into the off season, I think the hope was that the Oilers would kind of get an improvement up at backup. Like Pickard was good, and sure he earned another shot at it. Mm-hmm. But in an ideal scenario, you want to get a guy that's wasn't in the AHL for the last like 3 or 4 years. You want a more proven guy to back up Skinner. But you know he did well. Hopefully he does it again. It's that is still a criminally low ranking.
Totally. Yeah. They're at least better upper half of the league, top half of the league.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But whatevs.
And again, the injury thing, like I get being worried about that playing out. And there are areas on the roster, specifically the blue line, goaltending as well, where the Oilers have been remarkably healthy the last couple of years. Like every defenseman was playing 70 plus games for the last couple of seasons. So I get some hesitancy there that like eventually your luck turns in that regard. But I don't know. I just don't think you can go into a season. Yes, you need to plan for depth and things like that. But you can't just be like, well, they're screwed if some of their best players get hurt. It's like, yeah, like everyone probably is. So,
yeah. Do you have anything else? I want to address something in the chat. And it just really made me laugh. So we have this thing in our show. Obviously, it's a live show, but people can go back and watch. And when you came on, Preston, your mic wasn't on for the first, just like 10, 15 seconds. And Greg just commented in the chat saying, no mic.
Don't worry, it's coming.
I'm just a really quiet talker, actually.
We're 20 minutes into the segment. No mic. I like.
And now, Greg is going to see that in 20 minutes. He'll be like, "Damn, I wasn't watching live."
I like when Andrew popped in and was like, "Hey, saying what's up from Ottawa. Just letting you all know I'm restarting the show right now, so like my comments won't make sense." Naeem is in. I'm hopeful Skinner will establish himself as a top 10 goalie this year, but I think we see Pickard back in the AHL before the playoffs. I'm not as down on Pickard. I think they're going to be asking a lot out of Stu this year. I think Skinner, again, 59 games last year. I think we're getting 55 starts out of Stu, if not more, again this season.
I mean, if you're putting Pickard in the AHL, who's the backup?
Rodrigue?
Is it Rodrigue? Is it Delia? Like, I don't know. Like, I think Rodrigue is at a point in his development where you have to give him a few games in the NHL.
He comes up before Delia. I think I looked at Colin Delia's numbers in the NHL, and it's ugly.
Great. And then obviously you have like Ungar in the ECHL, but he's not touching it. So.
Yeah. And the other thing too, and we've said it, San Jose suck, Calgary suck, Anaheim suck, Seattle might suck. So you have 4 teams there that you can just play Calvin Pickard against, you know, and then you also have your Chicago's. Like, there's a lot of bad teams in the West this year that you'll be fine with Pickard. Just let him go Pally's attacks against those crappy teams.
Why not?
And let Skinner play the tough ones. And every now and then,
The way they,
Pickett will come up and he'll put a performance together for you against a tough team.
It seems like the team really plays with like
I think they play great
elevates
with
when
him.
he's in that.
Yeah, and I
too.
think that's a sign of trust with him there as well, to be honest. Like they want to play for that guy. I think Pickett's fine.
I have a media question I want to ask you. We always, like, our chat always gets the, oh my God, Spec, they ask the worst questions. It's like, it is not that easy, but I want to know, have you had an awkward one with a player? Have you thrown something out there and like maybe you didn't word it right or the player just didn't get it and they were like, shut up?
I had one with Connor McDavid actually. I was asking him because we wrote a story at Daily Hive in the playoffs about his lucky suit. So I asked him about that and he was just like, I don't know. And he just kind of waved me off and I was just like, ooh, okay. Gotta think about these ones a little further.
I think that's a good question. The thing is, you just never know what kind of mood they're really going to be in, I guess, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure the guys, again, who've probably been there for 10 years can kind of tell, like, okay, this guy's ready to play ball today. But
when they're not in a good mood, it's a tense little area. So.
After game 3, I was in the room and that was a lot. You could just like, everyone's just in silence and just like waiting for them to come in the room. And it's like McDavid, Draisaitl, Nurse. And you're just like, I don't even want to say anything. Like I am intimidated just standing here and I've not said a word.
Well,
yet.
it was funny during that because I think there's this little old lady reporter because the NHL lets so many people into the room and she just had no worry or hesitation at all. She went right up to McDavid after they went down 3-0 and was just like, why are you sad? You got one more game left.
Oh no.
And then McDavid was just like, yeah, I guess keep on cheering, you guys. And then the next game, that quote was on the Jumbotron before the game. So I was just like, well, this little old lady did it. Like she got the quote. She got the money quote there. So
that's funny.
Oh, that was, yeah.
Okay, we got a couple minutes left. Are you a fan of sports outside of hockey?
A little bit. I watch a little bit of baseball.
A little bit of baseball. Okay, well, that'll tie nicely. Let's get to our other sports report for our friends at Bet365. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Sign up now, download the app, get in on a huge range of markets, and use the promo code Oily Bonus. Major League Baseball playoff race heating up. My futures bet is locked in on the Cleveland Guardians, and I saw Canadian Cade Smith has an interesting case for AL Rookie of the Year. I was looking at that earlier. But anyways, baseball's playoff race is heating up. You look at the wild card situation right now. The Tigers and Royals both have their magic numbers at 1. That Tigers run is unbelievable. As of July 1, their chances of making the playoffs were like under 1%. And they have gone on this insane run. Final weekend of the baseball season. Things are starting to get good in the majors. CFL action. This is an Elks show.
We are pro Elks.
We are pro Elks.
Like McDavid.
I laughed so hard at his Throwback Thursday thing of him at the Elks game because, not to go too inside baseball on the whole thing, but he definitely missed a sponsored post and was someone in his team was like, Connor, we were supposed to post at the Elks game and we didn't. So it's like, all right, we'll do a Throwback Thursday and tag him.
Like, Throwback Thursday to 4 days ago.
Yeah, 4 days ago. But the Elks are in action tonight, 6 o'clock kickoff. They're in Winnipeg to take on, once again, the West leading Winnipeg Blue Bombers. If the Elks are going to make the playoffs, they pretty much have to win this game.
Really?
If you win this one, you're at 12 points with, I think, 3 games to go. You'd be 1 back of Saskatchewan at that point. The danger would be Saskatchewan's playing Ottawa, so they also probably will lose this week. So maybe there's an outside chance, but you're running out of strikes here. You got to win a game you're not supposed to at some point.
Win or lose, though. Like, this is a big win that they're even in the conversation, I think, after the start of the season they had. So
I was going to say, I guess starting 0-7 will do that to you.
Yeah, kind of put yourself behind the 8 ball. But it would be cool if in one calendar year we got the Oilers come back from 2-9-1, and then an Elks come back from whatever it was 1-6 to start the year.
City of comebacks. Put that on the sign.
City of comebacks. I don't hate that.
Not Mitchell Thomas.
McLeod Bethel Thompson. There we go.
Love football. Is he playing this week?
Sounds like he is.
Okay, that's kind of crazy.
A little bit.
Like
that
didn't look good to me, it just shows that the coach is. I mean, yeah, I agree. I was actually somewhat surprised he didn't start last week. But I guess if you trade forward your guy, but then to go right away from him,
they bounce back and forth quite a bit.
Yeah.
NFL weekend. It has been an interesting year in the NFL. A lot of underdogs winning. If you listen to Real Life yesterday, I gave my underdog parlay of the week, which I'm standing by. Rams, Bills, Vikes. But my teaser for the week, I do one of these every week. You take the line, move it 6 points, play 3 of them together, get it at plus 150. I'm going Jets down to minus 1.5. They'll beat the Broncos. The Broncos, I think, stink. Bills all the way up to 8.5. Even when the Bills lose, it's close games. Go Bills. And then Rams, I'm taking them from plus 3 to plus 9 on the road against Chicago. Play them together, plus 150. There you go. Shout out to our friends at Bet365. Preseason. Oh, you got something?
Panthers win, plus 180. Andy Dalton revenge tour in Cincinnati.
No way the Bengals are losing again. There's 100%. No way.
Bengals on.
I like the Jags to cover. To not win.
Plus 6.
Just cover.
Yeah, that's good.
Can't get worse than it's been.
Bet responsibly. Bet365 has a lot of smart gaming tools. Deposit limit, time limit, all of that good stuff. Shout out to our friends at Bet365. Oilers preseason action tomorrow. They are taking on Winnipeg?
The Kraken.
The Kraken.
Seattle. Yeah.
We love preseason.
We love the preseason around here. But it's in Edmonton. It's in town. So you'll be in attendance, presumably?
Yeah, I'm hoping so. I'm hoping
so.
There, yeah.
So what are you looking for tomorrow? Give me one thing to watch. Give me one thing you want the people to watch.
Yeah, well, it's looking like they're running the second line of Arvidsson, Skinner, and Draisaitl, and I'm hoping that we get a first look at that. They haven't played together this preseason yet, and that's a new line that will be a big deal for this team. So that would be the one thing I'd watch for tomorrow, just to see that trio together for the first time. And then on the blue line, I'm very curious to see more of Josh Brown, just to see if he can,
bounce back,
I guess. Cause if he is locked in there, you better show something quick. So that's another player I'd be looking at.
These were the main group lines today at Oilers Skate. Nurse, any update on Nurse?
I don't believe so. I think it's been the same all preseason.
Just gonna keep going. All right,
coming back at some point.
We'll throw his Twitter handle or X handle in the description, but it's at NHL Hodgkinson for those watching or listening in podcast form as well. Give him a follow. He's going to be on the beat all year, and you're a PHWA member, which means award voting responsibilities. Potentially.
We're not too sure about that yet, but the hope is I'll be having a ballot out there at the end of the year.
It's a lot of pressure. There you go. It's in the chat too if you want to follow him on X. Appreciate you swinging by, coming down in person as well. We'll have to do this again throughout the year.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm free to come whenever.
What are you doing this weekend?
I'm going to the crew games. Oh, I'm actually moving house.
Moving houses and going to the crew games?
Crew games Saturday. It's the Trail Smoke Eaters. Who are coached by Tim Fraggle.
Oh, former Nate Ooks head coach.
Former Sherwood Park Crusaders head coach.
And that was a spicy split.
That was a
Shout out Kyle Chase.
His assistant, Sean Bell.
Sean Bell's in...
No, sorry. Was the assistant in Sherwood Park
I was like,
with Tim.
Sean Bell, first interview I've ever done with a pro player.
Really?
Way back when I was in university.
He's a good guy.
Oh,
He's
pretty
the
cool
best,
guy
yeah.
in your first interview.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah, that's a good
So
one.
that's what I'm doing.
I'm golfing twice this weekend.
Shocker.
Stunner. Rounds 43 and 44. Will I get to 50 this year? I'm running out of daylight, quite literally.
Going to skip a show.
I might hold you to it.
I can tell.
All right. Preston, thank you again. Everybody in the YouTube chat, you guys were great this week. Next week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we are back with 3 more shows. We will continue to why did someone just it's that guy. No, we have to do this. Woodland. We're Wood Lake Campground Host West. Someone was talking a bunch of shit to us in the playoffs last year from their business YouTube account. It's a random campsite in BC, and they're back. Canucks in 4. Thought Thatcher Demko might not even be playoffs in Vancouver. That triggered me. That's wild. Everyone in the chat, you guys were great this week. Enjoy your weekend. We are back on Monday. Oil up.
Thank you for watching Oilers Nation Every Day. Hit the subscribe button to never miss a show. And for more, visit OilersNation.com.